All right, we are live and I think we have everybody in attendance, so I will call our special called council meeting and budget workshop to order. And with that, we have item 2 on the agenda. Are you reading that out, Madam Clerk? All right.
Appointment to fill a vacancy on the State Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee in one of the at-large positions. This is from Katie the copy resigning so that she could be our HR manager.
All right, we are live and I think we have. It's working. It is working.
Request from administration with her.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to appoint Kim Kinney to fill an at-large vacancy on the state tax advisory committee.
Okay,
Second.
motion and a second to appoint Kim Kenny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Mayor and Council, Division 3, Council Meetings, Section 2-97, Order of Business. To remove petitions for annexation and renumber the order of business accordingly. The request is from the Administration Department. And this is just moving the annexation ordinances under introduction of bills and resolutions instead of sections.
And I think your email answered the questions to council members. Do you have any questions, Vista? Okay, that cleans it up pretty good, I think.
Just the new bills, right?
Cool.
Correct.
Yeah.
First
Yes.
reading on the new bills.
Yeah.
All right,
May I move to give first reading to the ordinance?
Second.
all right. Motion and a second to give first reading to the ordinance. Any discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Authorization to enter into a contract with Howard B. Jones for the reconstruction of 6 tennis courts at Doty Park, and of $749,000. Sorry, $749,000. Funds to come from unbudgeted hospitality funds for the current fiscal year. The town receive 3 compliant bids and requests from the Parks and Recreation Department.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing, I heard a sigh, so I was waiting. I did have an opportunity to speak with Amy. And I understand that these funds are out of the hospitality fund for the current fiscal year. So not putting us in a jam next year.
Six one, half a dozen the other,
Correct.
Yeah.
essentially.
It'll be out of fund balance essentially, probably. It'll be encumbered. I don't know that the work is not scheduled to later, right? So the expense will actually hit in next year, but it will encumber our fund balance from which.
Does that do anything as far as projects we got on the agenda for next year?
It increased a little bit. Well, it took one off but it increased the dollar amount. It's kind of a wash.
Yeah. So stuff we talked about doing next year is not impacting.
We're not gonna do, I mean, I don't know about the I don't get the bathroom, but then that's a separate issue over there. That's the only other thing I know about.
And Amy, this was a priority of yours for this area, correct?
If the courts have failed, if we want to continue to offer them, then yeah, I mean, we've got everything.
All right. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, because I'm a tennis player and there are very few tennis court resources in our. So, glad that we're doing.
You're welcome. All right, I guess I'll turn this over to you and Rhonda.
Yep, I'll
Mr.
start.
Administrator.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. I'll start real quickly and then hand it off to Rhonda for the bulk of the talk. Our goal today is to provide to you the information that you requested and the options for achieving some of the budgetary goals that you were seeking, primarily trying to increase funding for salaries to public safety. We've gone back, we have squeezed, Rhonda has squeezed every revenue to the point of her discomfort. We still are going to have to face some challenges for how to fund the thing going forward, depending on how quickly you all decide you want to implement the funding increases, if you make that decision. So what we want to do is walk out of here today with a clear path and clear direction from you first reading at the May council meeting for particularly the salary increases and the schedule under which we want to implement those. And that, based on your decisions today, is what we will present to you at first reading in May. So that's really the biggest discussion that you all need to have today. And because the rest of it, we talked through pretty well. And we as staff have a good sense of how we want to move forward. What we presented to you, how to fund the priorities that you've identified, particularly on the capital side. So, and the operational side, you've received copies of the operational budgets, as Rhonda explained. There's not a whole lot of discretion in there. They are pretty much carbon copies of the current fiscal year with maybe some increases where we have things like fuel or other operational costs that are beyond our control. So let's concentrate on these salaries, how and when you want to implement them, and then that is what we will move towards for first reading in May. Now, let me say before we get started, Beth, what's the deadline to get the public notice to the paper?
April 23rd.
So a week from this Friday, is that right? Oh, tomorrow. What's today?
This Wednesday,
Oh, I said, no, what was the deadline you had to get the notice to the paper?
April 23rd,
Okay,
to be in the next.
in the paper
In the paper.
for the 15-day notice. So when is the 23rd? Today's the 15th, right? Yeah, so a week from this Friday, a week from this Friday. Yeah. Am I right?
No.
Okay.
Thursday.
A week from Thursday, sorry. Okay. My bad. Yes, 7 plus 16.
It's not a math class.
Hey, that's right, that's right.
It's about the.
Might still be a lot of
Well,
people.
we're obviously not doing very well.
Might still be a lot of people would not let me sign up for calculus. So, okay, so the deadline is the 23rd to get the notice into the paper, so that if we don't make decisions today, so that we can have that ready to go into the public notice, then we will have to postpone first reading from the May council meeting. So
Have a special call meeting.
yeah, you would have to have a special meeting in order to keep that moving forward. So those are the deadlines. Those are the goals that we're looking for from staff, and the deadline that you're operating under as of today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ron. Any questions about any of that that I've just mentioned?
Am I understanding that you figured out a way to do this without raising taxes?
We're getting ready to talk about that.
And that was my primary goal, is to look and see what we can do, make sure we're putting the right expenses in the right fund, we're looking for the right revenue to fund things. It's easy just to let the general fund get overwhelmed with a lot of things. We need to examine all of our sources. And, we're a team, everybody has a part in this. Public safety eliminated their new position so they could have some skin in the game and getting to some of these. I looked again at the revenue items, which we'll talk about. I am a little antsy with getting so tight on some of the revenue items. In the short term, I think that's fine. I don't think we can live there. I think that's
I'll add to that. Given the great uncertainty that I think we all have to understand and acknowledge about the economy going forward, if this nonsense continues, then the economy we are feeling the effects of what's going on in the Middle East right now, but we will, and it's going to take a long time to wash through the economy. As we talked about before, this part of the world has been resilient and been able to absorb some of that, but this is something different, I think, than we've seen in history. So all of what we're talking about is predicated on the assumption that things are going to stay pretty well normal, but it is certainly possible that some severe adjustments may have to be made at some point during the fiscal year after July 1st. So just keep that in mind.
not to be
Right, yeah.
My
My cup's half full.
I'll live in the real world, so.
Just see. We did I am suggesting we reclassify some expenses to other funds. And that we take a look at our sanitation and particularly stormwater fund. To make sure that we are actually funding stormwater costs in the stormwater fund. Presently, all of our engineering costs are all in the general fund. And I think Bonnie and her great team, it probably at least half, if not more than half, of their work is related to stormwater. So we'll talk about that in greater detail. But again, all these items that we're gonna talk about, we looked at everything, and short of looking at a property tax increase. That's, if y'all wanna do that, that's up to y'all. That's not.
The quicker.
So we'll start exactly where we left off with the budget summary. Oh. I think y'all have the department meeting together.
Yeah, you also have the slides printed out in your folder, and then department heads, I emailed them to you this morning.
So this is exactly where we left off with the revenue of just under 52 million. These are all the department budgets. I will say, I think that everything that I sent you is exactly equal to this, but there are some changes that I have made because this is fluid. As something comes to our attention, I've tweaked these numbers a little bit, so there may be some small differences. We had a list of non-capital items that were requests that really weren't big enough to be capital that department heads put in front of us. They totaled just over $300,000. I incorporated those items into their operating budget because they don't belong in capital, they really belong in operating. So I think at the last meeting, we had roughly a $400,000 surplus. If you take that out, we're right at 133 is what I have right now. With no other changes, this is where we're starting today. Any questions about that? No, that's good. So,
And I'll just add a comment, 133,000 on 55-ish, $56 million budget. There's not a lot of room there's not a margin for error there.
It's a rounding error.
Yeah.
And that revenue projected, that was what we talked about last time.
yes,
That's all that.
that
okay.
part hasn't changed at this point. I'm gonna present some things shortly. So, as time goes on, we're preparing a budget in the middle of the year. Some of our tax revenue is coming in. So first thing I looked at is, I think we're as far as I can go on real estate. I think I can't really comfortably do that. Looking at the vehicle tax revenue, looking at some of the trends, looking at what we got last year, in the later months of the year, I think I can increase that about 175,000. That's the max. So, that really is, that's probably more than I would be completely comfortable with. But that's where we're on that. Franchise fee revenue, I had a good conversation with Dominion, and it just kind of led me down the road of what the revenue would look like this year. And looking at the history on that, a 2.5% increase, I think, looking at for next year, gives us another $110,000 in franchise fee revenue for the general fund. That's the 60%, because the 40% of franchise fee revenue goes to the roads fund.
Let's hope for a hot summer and a cold winter coming up.
I'm always very conservative on interest rates because that's just interest rate risk and things that I don't have control over. But given the more stable interest rate environment, I think we were all expecting more of a decline in rates. It's more stable. So I feel like I can squeeze another 150,000 out in that category.
Here's your silver line in the economy.
Oh, yes, that's right. The next item on the list is transfer P1. We're going to look at the P1 costs that the police department had approved in the fall. Some of that is communications related and related to our 911 system. And the one thing that we want to move towards is getting all of our relative 911 expenses in the 911 fund. We will get some reimbursements from the state, and that is evolving. But we do have some reimbursements that we can use to fund those things. Now, it might be, and we haven't really gotten there yet, it might be that we have to, at some point in the future, we might have to fund some at a general fund to transfer to the 911 fund. But it would be my goal to get everything that is related to 911 in 911, so we know what that is. Otherwise, we don't know what that is. Just because there's not enough money there, we need to make sure it's there and then transfer appropriate fund. And the state asked for, part of their funding formula is looking at our financials and looking to see what we spend out there. Well, if we never spend anything out of there, then they're not gonna give us any money. So we're not helping ourselves by doing that. So that is what I'd like to do there. Another small item is, in the fire department budget, we had a non-capital item that was a duplication that was also in the capital fund, so I can eliminate that, and that's just a bookkeeping thing. So those are reasonable things that can be done right away, yielding about $750,000. So I feel like that's reasonable. The last item on the list is transferring engineer personnel costs, some of it to the stormwater fund. And we'll have a more extensive conversation about that and some of the history of that, and what y'all want to do as far as that goes. So that's a potential $1.1 million.
Good job.
And that $1.1 million, is that reflected on the page before?
It is not.
I didn't think so. So that 133,000, it
Yeah.
would actually be the plus this.
Right. I was trying to take us through the steps, so yeah, and change 4 things at one time and wonder what happened.
Yeah, very good job.
So last meeting, we talked about the, particularly the pay implementation, employees, fire, police, and communications. And, I'm gonna, if you'll flip one more slide over, I want to just go into, this is the all in. This is, if we did everything on July 1, this is what it would be. So I just kind of want to start there, and then we can flip back.
So 1.6 is what we're looking for, if we did it all in July 1 of this year. That's the additional money.
And that the full, not splitting it up.
That's the total cost. Yeah, if you wanted to implement it full force on July the 1st of this year, all of 1.7.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go back and, this is a busier sheet, I apologize. So we talked about this and it some last time as well. But there are 3, kind of scenarios that I put together, and you're always free to suggest another. The first one is doing it over a 3-year period, doing 50% in year 1, 25 in year 2, and 25 in year 3. I will tell you, the column on the far right-hand side is basically, check my math, show you work. It was for my purposes to make sure I included all the right totals. But in this total, you'll see the yellow highlighted, which is 951,000. That would be the increase under this scenario in year 1. The 598 is what COLA I've already included in the budget. So looking at what we would additionally need to fund under this scenario would be the 353,000. Does that make sense? Okay.
Speak a little slower. Sorry.
Okay, so if we did this over 3 years and we said, okay, we're gonna do 50% of everything in year 1. And the total that we would want to include would be that would be 951,000, including fringes for the 3 departments. Okay, I have already included a COLA in the budget for public safety of almost 600,000. So
That's 3%.
that's 3%. That's correct. So that would just leave an additional 350-ish that we would need to fund for this 1 year. Okay. Now I do want to make, when I talk about 50% and 25 and 25, I do want to make a distinction. The fire department had their incentives broken out by phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So rather than do a 50%, 25 and 25 in their breakdown in these scenarios, it's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So their percentages aren't exactly like 50, 25, and 25. It didn't the way they had structured theirs didn't make sense to do, theirs.
Can I ask you, does that remaining to fund 353, is that anywhere accounted in this, or this is totally separate, the recommend, the general fund budget revenue?
It's not anywhere yet,
It's
but
not.
those
It's just-
changes that we talked about can be used to fund one of these scenarios.
Okay, so
That's my intent.
Those funds are available.
Those funds are available, if y'all are comfortable with it.
And then whenever you calculated like year 2 and year 3, did you, that number of what we needed, did you already, account for a COLA?
No. So that would be, if you assume the COLA will be pretty much the same, then that would be pretty much the 3%. It wouldn't be any additional. That makes sense on the first one. I don't want to leave this
Yeah.
until.
I have a question about the first scenario.
Okay.
We talked about forfeiting the COLAs with this pay increase. Would they be forfeiting it for all 3 years?
No.
This year.
Well, I think that would be up to y'all to decide in year 2.
Well, because if they forfeit over 3 years, we're not doing the same thing again.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, I'm not making any assumptions on that. They're just forfeiting it for this year to implement one of these plans.
I'll say something on that scenario, please, Scott. Right now, we're already behind this money already. So in 3 years, imagine what everybody else is gonna be doing in the next 3 years.
That's right.
And we're just now getting, in 3 years, we'll be doing the same thing all over again. And in the meanwhile, we had in 3 years, that's where we're gonna lose police and firemen because they're still going up and we're still not even there yet. So I just want to put that in there. The 3 year scenario, I know would be the most logical, but when you're thinking about your people, it's not the most logical.
Put that in there. I'm not, that's not quite what I would recommend.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean,
I agree.
thank
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna move on to scenario 2.
So let's make sure everybody's clear, make sure I'm clear. In year 2 and year 3, we would need to find
The
an
COLA.
additional 665 in year 2. Plus whatever COLA there you might award. So that would be, we don't know what that would be. Plus the 604 in year 3, plus whatever COLA you were. So just figure another million each year. An additional $1 million just for safety to continue going forward. Just make sure everybody understands that.
At the current staffing level.
Correct. Which is the increase in the base salary plus whatever COLA comes on top of that and the compound. So just rounding math. You're looking at year 2, another $1 million, year 3, another $1 million. An additional expense.
And
Now,
we,
and what Rhonda has proposed on that previous page, so, I'm sorry, on the previous page for this year, we know we think we're pretty confident we can cover $755,000 in additional expense, which you've got to cover for year 1's $353,000 in additional cost. But that 755 ain't gonna be there every year. Necessarily. So I say all that to make sure that we understand that, yeah, we can cover it this year probably pretty easily. But then we're going through this rigorous exercise again next year and the year after. Not saying that to discourage anyone, but I just want everybody to be clear-eyed about what you're taking on in future years. So
and while,
despite the fact that what we're presenting to you does not require any revenue increases so far. And we still got some discussion to have today.
and we do have some big projects coming on board, but at the same time, we're gonna need more staff as well. And then
Well-
we're gonna be behind and.
Well, I mean, that's where the goal of the 3 to 5 year strategic planning within each department is gonna come along, which
Yeah.
will help us inform that. But my point is, at some point, if we, you know, if everything kind of stays the same with regard to growth and revenues especially. You're gonna have a revenue problem. Not saying it's this year, not saying it's necessarily next year, but at some point, you're gonna have a revenue issue. So just keep that in mind.
So, just to play the flip side of that coin.
Sure.
Right now. Feels like we have a staffing problem, trying to maintain staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got a problem on either side.
Right, that's right.
We just have to choose whether we want to, what services do we want to provide as a town? Do we want the best police and fire department in the Tri-County area? I do. And then are we willing to pay for that? I mean, it's
Can-
cost, and we want to keep staff.
Do we have, does police and fire, do y'all have a percentage roughly, like what your turnover, your annual turnover is in your department, would you say?
Percentage wise, no, I don't. It varies from year to year, but since, I don't know, let's say the last 5 years, we lost 77 people
Over 5 years?
over 5 years.
And
And
out of.
we had
How many you got?
About 15% of you.
Okay.
And before last year, we had 111 people, fully staffed is 111. This year, it's 115.
And would you equate about half of that to going to better pay or getting out of the industry or retirement?
Most of them getting out of the industry because they see, you know, everyone in public safety is kind of going through the same thing, but you see it all over the news. So they're getting out of the industry mostly altogether. We've lost maybe a handful to other departments, but it's not even 2 departments in the state. It's going to be, we lost one to Texas, well, 3 to Texas this last year. But they're younger guys starting families and, so yeah, it's for the most part, it's guys getting out of public safety out there.
I'm going to different. What about you?
Our turnover is not quite as high, but it varies by year. Probably the last 3 years, we've been sitting at pretty good, about 10-15%. But our people do leave for more money. If they leave the industry, they're leaving for the money. And then usually they realize once they get there, they're not feeling the need, or they're not meeting their need of their altruistic reward. And they want to get back into serving people. They realize the private sector is not for them, and they come back. But when they leave us, they're leaving for money. It's not because they want to leave the town. I can tell you this, we pay so little on our front end that it's hard to believe that we're able to keep the people we do. But I think it's because of the culture. But we can, like I say all the time, we can make one decision in this room, or I can make a bad decision and it could be a mass exodus, 5-10 people.
Wow.
And to underscore the pressure that the town is facing as a competitor with other agencies, I had a conversation recently with a high-ranking official of a direct competitor law enforcement public safety agency who said, thank you for y'all considering these raises, because that'll give them the excuse to raise their pay. So
I've had 3 tell me that in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Other chiefs.
That's what happens in the business. You got.
I know.
Charleston,
Well,
it's usually Charleston or Mount Pleasant, takes the first step, North Charleston,
I
they take a
think-
jump.
I thanked Eric
And then-
Moore, the town administrator of Mount Pleasant 2 years ago, and they did that. So I was like,
And Mount
thanks for
Pleasant-
doing that. Appreciate it.
Mount Pleasant just did a tax increase to pay the public safety. Yeah. Isle of Palms just did a tax increase to pay the public safety more. That's what winds up happening is you wind up chasing that. It's just
Race.
in that chase, Somerville has, since I was in fire service since 1993. Since 1993, Somerville was always at the tail end of that race.
It's a hard race.
It is a tough race, and it's a very tough race.
Can I,
I'm not interested in winning the race. I would just like maybe move to the cellar.
Be a
Yeah.
placer.
Competitive.
But you can also look at it as the rise of time that's all true. So collectively, we're improving our public safety.
That's true.
Yeah, we're trying to keep the exodus of all, because all the agencies are experiencing the same thing. People are getting out from the private sector because they realize they can't afford to raise a family on that. So if you look at it across the board, it wouldn't be a problem for us if the highest paid city of Charleston, we're not losing people too. Because there would be nowhere for our people to go if they were all fully staffed. So it is a rising tide situation where we gotta get, take people, up, all people up where they,
But
are competitive.
do you end up, if we get to where we're competitive and then say that's Charleston or the next place then raises theirs, then we're not competitive again? And that just, does that happen every year?
We're trying to get up to the medium right now. We're not trying to get even competitive. When we bring these raises up, they won't even bring us to the top 5. We're in last place right now. We are.
Can I ask, Chris, across the townwide excluding public safety, what would you say the average turnover is or loss of employees and other departments excluding, I'm just wondering the differential there.
Well, it varies from department to department, but suffice to say, and I can provide more detail on this, fully from what we've got back at the office, but the other departments tend to be in the 5 to 8% range. They tend to be on the lower side. It is the public safety, the two primary departments that we see it being higher, and the fire being the higher of the two of those.
Yeah.
And I keep in mind that those are ones and twos. I can say anecdotally, because there's a series of us who sign off on personnel change forms when somebody changes or leaves or and you might have one department with 20 people in it and you lose 1 or 2 and not the 10% turnover rate. Well, it's 2 people. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But
Public safety is,
public
they
safety
got fire at 115 and you've got
Yeah.
police at what, 130, 135, so that's well over half of your entire full-time population.
I can tell you, we broke it down, just take out salaries. Just someone leaving the job and bringing somebody in, how much it costs for that employee to be onboarded. And it's over $20,000, that you put in all the uniforms and training. That's before they even go out on the road. The fire department bunker gear is way more expensive than mine. And so when you start doing 17, 18, 19 openings, and then you're having to run recruit classes, all the training hours of the person training them, and then they fail. Or I send them to the academy. That's why we pick nothing but the best. So when they go to the academy, they don't fail. So now it's a revolving door, but that money, that's just a waste of money, that we're not even factoring in. And I think that's a pretty big chunk of money.
Your guys' uniforms, do you recycle them? I mean, when
We
someone
do.
leaves.
We
I mean,
do,
if
but our
they're
vests
still
are
in good
$1,000,
shape.
our tasers are $1,000, our guns $1,000, our radio $6,000.
Yeah, that's the.
Do you recycle that?
They recycle, but you gotta add in all that stuff because of wear and tear, end of life. I mean, everything's got, but I mean, you'd be surprised with boots, $200, uniforms, $500 and it just adds up. So then you add in training costs.
Not everybody comes to the same size and shape.
Right, yeah.
I'd like to say, from a long-term perspective of what we're talking about right now. I've been hearing this since 2007, in many different councils, several pay decreases and a pay increase. And eliminating the personnel to add to the money is moving the peanut. We're not doing any, we're kicking the can down the road again. And every time we kick that can, we get further behind. If we do this 3-year plan, then we're back where we were.
that's a good segue to option number 2. And options
One-
3.
Yes, we're working together. I can see what's going on here.
So
That's why you're, yeah.
if,
Can I ask one more question though to public safety? Would you say, even if this happens, would you say that it's fair to say that you'll still have a little bit of a higher turnover than most just because of mental health or people saying, I can't handle this? or-
Honestly, the industry itself right now is just everyone is hiring. So there's always competition with hiring. Our jobs are a lot different just because of the things that we do see daily. You guys can just judge by the emails that we send to you guys. It takes for us, and I'll speak on anyone in a command position. The stress that's added on our end is the recycling of people. Our money that we allot for every single year, most of our money goes to bringing someone new on, just like our 17 recruits, that's almost $400,000 worth of just bunker gear. That's just to outfit them to go in a fire. So those are the like little stresses that we don't necessarily think about, that we're so used to dealing with on a daily basis. That it's just like, when is this gonna end? We need something to like plug the hole here, and we've been, even when Chief Brady was there, we were having these exact same conversations. What can we do? We've done everything that in our control to increase our, better our leadership. I'm one that I do look at myself in the mirror every single day and say, what else can I do as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a fire chief? What else can I do to make things better? For my work, for my family. It's like, I'm not one to just throw money at something. It's like, we're gonna look at everything we possibly can to make it better. Our culture is great. We're just missing a few pieces, so.
I don't have a turnover for, mental,
Nobody leaves because of,
it's rare.
of
We're pretty
It's
right.
very rare.
really, so they can handle it.
I will, but like,
See, I meow.
going back to
Be able to
January,
handle-
I will say that probably half of the department is seeking some sort of counseling.
Us too, we're very proactive, but I have no need to leave them for it.
But it's a proactive approach. It's not reactive all the time. So it's just making sure that their mind, body, and soul is prepared to do the job every single day. Not just to do the job, but to be able to go home and not carry the job with them.
Do you have a mental health counselor on staff, or is it a third party?
We've partnered with Low Country Therapy, a little shameless plug there, but they actually come in on Fridays and do group sessions with us. And they've also offered services for us to go individually. So yeah, and we've seen a lot of benefits with that.
And the town has an employee assistant program. Programs available all employees in addition to
We use it a lot.
those supplements.
That, we also see it with MPSC.
So y'all do, include that in your budget already. That's good.
Yeah, it needs to be more, but, MPSC is not cheap, but they're very, very, very good.
Yeah.
And we asked to add a line item this year for health and wellness. Just so we can allot some money aside to kind of go into those things. So if someone can't afford it, then maybe we can somehow help them out and offset some costs for them.
As I remember, several years back, and I don't know if it was the two of you or Deputy Elementary, I remember the comment being made, that we put a lot of money into police and fire for training. They're with us for a couple of years, and then they leave to another organization, another public safety organization, and they don't have to pay to train them because we've already spent that money to do so. It seems to me that there's only one way to make up the difference in the pay. And I'm not gonna say out loud what it is, but it seems to me there's only one way of doing this for some of them.
And I think, again, I'll say, going back to training, our other chiefs in the area are jealous of our training budget. Because we spend so much, and it's not that we have to spend that, is that we want to invest that money into them. We want the town of Somerville's public safety to be the very best. And that's why we spend so much money in training. It's not necessarily the fact that we are losing people. It does cost when we have to retrain someone or train someone new that's coming in. We spend a lot of money on the guys that are already here. We invest a lot of money and to keep people, honestly.
Nobody's jealous of my training budget, I promise.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, let's move on to options.
Yeah, let's move on. Which I think will accomplish what I think all as a group really want to accomplish, in a couple of different ways. So option 2 is to put 75% of the implementation in this fiscal year, FY 27, and push 25% out to the next year. That, again, that also in this spreadsheet includes the COLA. So in the 50% that would be in July for police, communications, and fire would total 951,000, okay? If I take out the COLA they're going to forfeit, that's a 353.
exactly like the implementation right before that, for the first half of for the first part of the year. We would also include 25% in January, which brings that to 75%. So the total remaining to fund for FY 27 will be $685,000. Which is a little, that's certainly manageable within the options that we have laid out as far as revenue options. That would push an additional 600,000 into FY 28.
Plus whatever COLA you would assign in FY 28.
Right. And the impact, this math is a little different. I have over there FY 28 impact, because basically you're taking half of, because we're doing it in January, 25% in January, then the effect to the whole year for FY 28 is half of what we did in January plus the 25 we pushed out.
And if we do that, that 685 would still come out of that over $1 million and something dollars we have.
That's correct.
So
That's
we
correct.
have the money to do this comfortably.
We
In
do.
year one.
In year one.
Year two, go to FY 28 impact. That's what you're gonna have to come up with in addition, as the additional amount for next year's budget.
And,
Keep going forward.
and if you want to do a COLA, then you would have to add to that, which I think we all agree that we gotta keep up.
And by then, we'd have more impact. There's a lot of stuff coming online in the town as well, but.
It's not a magic revenue box anywhere that.
Right, I understand.
It's slow and steady, and we're very fortunate that it's slow and steady.
I
think to move anything to next year is just kicking half again, I mean, at some point, we need to be responsible to the citizens and public safety. These are our primary tasks in all of this, and we have the best. I mean, they've proven they're at the top of every certification we can get. And we owe them that, because not everybody has that. And anything we move, next year, we're gonna have the same problem, particularly if we cut their extra personnel, because now we're gonna need twice as many personnel. We see how many apartments are going up, what the population's going up, and it's my personal, I think apartments require more public safety than do residential homes.
Does
So-
the public safety complex that we're building have built into that cost any new personnel for that building?
No.
Okay, can I move to option
Yeah.
3, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, option 3 is very similar to option 2, as a suggestion by Mayor Touchberry. This is basically doing a third, and a third, capturing all within this fiscal year. The dollars that hit this fiscal year, are similar to option 2, being just right at $1.2 million. But we actually obligate and implement in this fiscal year. Obviously, it still will, anything we obligate this year, anybody's increase will be an obligation that has to be continued to be funded next year. So, and that's not a bad thing. It's just reality. We're just elevating our level of personnel costs. But,
So you can even explain
Yeah.
this to me a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm not following. So
okay,
this would be in 3 years evenly.
no, it would be 1 year. I would do a third of the implementation in July 1, a third January 1, and a third in June of 2027.
Okay.
So when you look at, if I do a third in June of 2027, it actually you're only gonna get like 1/12 of the cost that actually hits FY 27. It's a shell game.
Yeah,
It's a shell game, and it's a way to afford it in 2027, without increasing taxes or finding some other revenue sources, outside of what I've laid out.
And it helps with cash flow doing it and spreading it across those 3 months.
But what this would mean, like in July of 26, 1 year, they're gonna get 50%, and then, or on the other one, they're gonna get 33%.
Correct. What is
What is a 50-50 proposition of like 50 in July, 50 in January? I know you didn't calculate it.
It is.
It's gonna be somewhere in between full and 75 there.
I
Yeah,
mean, it'd be that number.
it's gonna
plus
be,
that
it's gonna
number.
be $1 million.
It'd be 1 million too.
It's gonna be $1 million for in fiscal 28.
It should be about 700,000 for that 592 is for additional impact, it would be about 700,000.
Well, my point
Wouldn't it
is,
just be 604?
if we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be meaningful, it needs to happen quickly.
So, and actually, so the one that is. So on the January of 27, on the middle one, they're gonna get 25%, and on the bottom one, they'll get 34% in January, but. The first way they get 50% and then 33%, I see.
I don't think if we did 50 and 50, it would be that cost prohibitive. I don't think it would be that different.
The 755 covers that. Okay. For this fiscal year.
And is this continue to impact other places in the presentation, or is this siloed just to this? Does whatever happened with these numbers impact other areas as we're moving through this?
Not on this particular one, but yes, it all is kind of interrelated.
More bad than temple.
I think this is pretty good. We found more money.
Hold that thought.
No, no worries.
So anyway, so before we, at the end, I want you to make a decision on this. But before we move on, I also want to bring up the topic of other employees. We are a team here. We have valuable employees everywhere. We have, I know Amy's parks program is fabulous. Told people before, I was so jealous of Mount Pleasant when I first moved here because we had nothing. We had nothing for my kids to do here. Everything had to be private. And now we have all these activities, and I think that's a great economic development tool as well. So, everybody's department is important.
Probably our two largest staffing groups would be Parks and Rec and Streets and Stormwater outside of public safety.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
and I know that we may be fly outside of the norms, but I can only speak for myself, and I think Mark can as well for his department. But our turnover rate in Parks and Recreation, I know this past year was in excess of 30%. And I feel that's pretty consistent for us. So I did want to clarify that for Parks and Recreation. And knowing streets and knowing stormwater, I feel like they're at least at around that number as well. I feel that's important for y'all to know.
And what, and so, because we're not, since I asked that, would you equate it, are people getting out of it? Do y'all do an exit interview, like why they're leaving? Do you typically?
My people leave. Another job.
Our starting is 16. That's, easy to beat, unfortunately. So, we do see an incredibly high turnover rate.
But we do have, we built in Ray getting Mark's guys and Amy's guys who are at that $16 an hour. We've got that built into their budgets to get them tonight. So, all right, that's already.
And a 3% starting July 1 across the board for everybody else.
I think the 19 would include, and for those people would include.
It would be in lieu of the 3%.
Yeah.
Because the $3 increase is,
3% of the
more
lower
than 3%.
So you're raising the base pay to 19
Correct.
and everybody that doesn't benefit is at least getting 3%. You're getting 3% or more, so you're helping the lowest
Yeah.
level,
Correct.
which I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah,
Are we
I just
raising-
wanted to clarify our turnover rate, which ours is probably very different than the other departments, but ours is very high.
And you have part-time positions also where there's nowhere else on staff that we have part-time positions, right?
I'm not even looking, I wouldn't even include those because part-time does turn so quickly.
And is yours being raised to 19?
We're trying to get there.
And right now yours are at 16, sorry.
Mine's at 16, right?
Sorry. How does that equate to what police and fire? I know their salary, but what does that equate to hourly in your department?
I'd have to really break it down. I think
$19 an hour is about $39,000. So, yeah,
And y'all are about,
well, we work more hours in the year, so our hourly rate is gonna look lower because we work so many more hours.
yeah.
But it was 79 hours.
Just in comparison, so starting officer at $19 an hour is I'm sorry, one back. This year is 47,990. If I plug in the $19 an hour and the number of hours we make, an officer would make 5,000 more. But that $19 would make it 42 versus right now they're making 47.
Okay.
And our starting firefighters, working the 29-12 hours a year is $14.89, so now.
Okay, so police is about $5,000 a year, over 19 an hour, and you're about $5 under per hour. So if whatever we decide here, is that gonna create still like a compression between police and fire? I mean, I feel like they're kind of equal in the services they provide. Is it gonna then, because to me, that's the biggest difference between police and fire.
Typically, your police is always a little higher than the fire department as far as salaries.
Oh.
The structure is completely different, the number of hours, it has a lot to do with just their
And the
structure.
call volume as well, the police department answers a lot more calls than we do.
and
I mean,
typically you're.
typically how many
Yeah.
calls a day, you know? Probably 300 probably.
Yeah. And you're usually concerned about compression within a department, within a structure, within a department, rather than across it.
Which
The
this,
participants.
this programmatic approach that you're taking here, you and the police is supposed to help with internal compression.
Oh, it eliminates,
what you're
it
actually
eliminates compression.
Correct.
You're improving competitiveness while making sure you're
Yes,
balancing
sir.
out.
Yeah, we have a step plan. It's like you can't, throughout the whole thing. So it completely eliminates the compression.
Okay,
Where you at?
can we move on?
Okay. So you've heard the three, we've talked about other employees,
What has been proposed?
yeah. Which
Has been broached.
Which-
anyway.
I will maybe figure out in a second, but, we'll see, okay.
So do we want to let them off the hook and come back?
I think we come back.
All right, let's get this.
Yeah, I feel
You always
pretty good.
keep
We're
the
still,
bad stuff down.
we're still pretty ahead based on what we found. I feel pretty good.
I felt pretty good when I added those numbers up.
Why do y'all keep saying, well, come on now, we need all the positive vibes we can get, right?
I'm not, I'm not worried about this year. Understand?
Yeah, we,
Positive vibes,
that's,
y'all.
that's the one thing, and since we haven't gotten there yet, I'm not sure how we get there, but we can't operate in a vacuum for 1 year at a time. We have to be able to try to have, I'd love to be able to have a 3-year framework, but I don't know. I don't know how we get there yet.
We're getting close.
We're getting closer, correct. Okay, now we have hospitality and local accommodations. I budgeted a small increase based on the history and what I can tell for hospitality of 6.3 million. We transferred 3.7 to the general fund. Our personnel cost in this fund is 951,000, and other operating costs are $1.4 million. There are things that aren't included in this fund, like Maple Street maintenance. We don't know what that's gonna be. We will typically include that in this particular fund. We have increasingly encumbered the expenses that are coming out of hospitality much faster than the revenue is growing. There used to be some surpluses in this, significant surpluses in this fund. They are very minimal now, and I see them declining. So just that's what the future kind of looks like. We have significant needs. We just approved a significant need for the tennis courts of $750,000. That's gonna come out of fund balance. I have listed which we'll talk about capital, but it's relative to this fund, so we need to look at it. I have proposed just under $2 million, which is actually more than that, for capital expenditures to come out of hospitality. That is about a third of our fund balance that we are taking in one swoop. Not that any of those things are not important, they're all important.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Expenditures, you talk about at the bottom of the.
At the bottom of the bottom of the sheet, I have it detailed, and we've talked about these in our capital, and we'll talk about them again. But I think I allocated, if it was 75% or like did a split between general fund and hospitality on some of these items. So you got the restrooms, the Gahagan poles, the Gahagan resurfacing, and the tennis court rebuild, which is now not 360, it's actually 750-ish. So all those, there's no other place for it to come out of. We don't have operating income for it to come out of. So it will come out of fund balance to the tune of $2 million, basically.
1,910,000 or plus the at different, so about 2 million.
And that's 1/3 of our fund.
That's about 1/3 of our fund balance.
In the hospitality tax.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's,
That's a significant chunk.
that is a significant chunk.
That's why the
But that-
future is so important.
But that's only out of, when you say fund balance, you're saying only these funds balance.
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
not
the fund
general
balance
fund.
relative to
Hospitality tax.
hospitality, yeah.
And that the net revenue over expenses were the projections. Okay,
It's very minimal.
so after that, that's what's left. Is that what you're saying? So after you take this out of the fund balance?
No.
Okay, 'cause this is,
This is just the next year's revenues plus with the known expenses would yield $221,000. And then if you wanted to fund these 4 items below there to the tune of about $2.3 million, that will come out of your fund balance. And that represents about, what'd you say, 20%, 30%, third of our fund balance in the hospitality tax.
thank you.
I have local accommodations on here. We don't have any budgeted costs. It's still a small revenue pool, but it does help do some things that help with the barriers that the police department purchased last year, a few years ago. So it is a help when we need it. I certainly wouldn't want to obligate all of that.
And none of that can be used, that 420, which it's not much, and if we're only using a third of the fund balance in hospitality, so we just kind of leave that sitting there until something.
There'll be some things that we'll probably need to use some of those funds for along the way, I'm sure. Any other questions about that? There's a statement at the bottom that we really need to pay attention as we move forward into debt service on the public safety building. One of the things that we talked about was absorbing some general fund expenses into the hospitality fund so we could free up some general fund for a portion of debt service. 300,000 is not a lot, but it's something that we need to certainly work towards.
So basically, transfer to general fund was 3.7 to 4, basically.
Correct.
And the personnel cost, that's what, new personnel, or that's personnel that you fund out of that?
That's all.
As a for instance, whenever police and fire would work the Azalea, the Flower Town Festival. Those expenses, those personnel expenses are getting charged for the hospitality hours. Because those are eligible expenses that we can reimburse to the general fund from hospitality, because that is a hospitality.
And Team Six.
Team Six is there, the new team that was just approved, the 3-year grant, the match is coming out of here.
Same thing with Amy's folks and street department folks, whenever they're working events. We can reimburse the general fund out of hospitality.
Amy's event manager is in here, Chris, our PIO is in here.
And then other operating costs, would that be like specific for events or hospitality related items? I guess.
We have we have maintenance on roadways in there as far as landscape maintenance. We also have, like some of the Christmas tree lighting additions, some of the other functions, I can't remember. What else, any big items that are in there, but. a lot of small items related to tourism and. All right, can we move on? I'm sorry, this is a lot of stuff too. Richard, you had inquired about impact fee history too. So as I was trying to put an impact fee slide together, I wanted to kind of just show the history of the revenue over the last several years. We have two funds because there's an impact fee charged for residences that relates to Parks and Rec, fire and communications. And then there is an impact fee for commercial buildings that relates just to fire and police, basically. Parks and Rec is not included in that. So that's why we're keeping them together. I did look at an average for the totals, which is certainly, we had some low years in 2021, 2022. We changed our fee structure. And we've certainly benefited from the development in town. Sawmill has certainly contributed a lot. So we've had good fortune in our impact fee. That will not be forever either. You know, that will slow down. So looking at this, what I was trying to kind of get to show you what was available is if you look at the yellow line with Parks and Rec and Fire and Municipal, I'm trying to identify what is available for our debt service on public safety. Impact fees, I would suggest, which should be the first place we get our first payment from, because we're not going to have this forever. So that's something that you have to actually appropriate annually, is where that payment's coming from. So this year, I want to suggest that we do it from there. We have just over $5 million in fund balance from those two areas. We have year-to-date revenue, we have 2.5 million, and brings a total of just under 7.5 million. We have already obligated the remainder of Creech, our architect for the public safety building. We've already obligated those two amounts, brings us to a net available of about 4.4 million. I'm suggesting that almost 2.7 of that we obligate this next year for debt service on the installment purchase revenue bond. Anything over that, I think, needs to be considered. We might consider part of it next year, but then we've got Station 7 in the wings that we're going to have to find a funding source for as well.
The adjustment revenue bond, that's the first payment on the public safety complex.
Yes.
So 2 point, and that'll be annual, but that you're saying that first payment coming out of that.
Of this particular fund, yeah, we'll get to decide every year where it comes from. It will come from the TIF, from the Midtown TIF at some point too, but I feel like it's wise to just go ahead and obligate what we can out of this fund, and then we can move to the other funds.
So for the next 30 years, you and your successors are gonna have to find about $3 million between now and then on average.
It declines at some point in time.
It does.
1.7.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
At its peak in,
I won't be here then.
yeah. At its peak, it's gonna be about $3 million.
Correct.
So I know this is a lot of math. I'm sorry, but it's just kind of the way it looks.
And just since you referenced the TIF, those TIF funds are about 10 million that are going to be assigned. I know we're not getting any leads on this.
That is gonna be
Roughly.
part of the cost of the building.
So what would you, I'm sorry, what?
For the public safety complex, there was about $10 million that was going to be coming from the TIF directly towards
Right.
that.
We borrowed,
Total pledge.
And we have hopeful anticipation that the state legislature may help some.
How?
I see no positive energy coming from.
I know.
Unless you've heard something I haven't, but it's certainly possible. We've made an application to the General Assembly for an appropriation of $8 million. Our delegation is on board with that. The Senate just passed its version of the budget. The House will then take that version and mark it up, and that's when the House Ways and Means Committee typically inserts the earmark requests. So we should know imminently whether or not our request gets into the budget on the House side.
And then if it does, we need to all work very hard to make sure that it stays in there through the floor and then over to the Senate and then through caucus. And we'll all go.
And the sale of real property is also being assigned to that.
The 4 acres left from the Woodlands. And the Woodlands sale itself, yes, we're obligated to that. So we have. We're close, I assume we're still on target to close on the main chunk of the Woodlands property by the end of July.
Well, I hope so.
We're under contract for it, so we would expect to get that. And then if we can sell the other 4 acres, then yes, those are dedicated towards the IP.
And the only reason I say all of that is because we are trying to look ahead in future years. And all of that amasses to about 6 years of that note being paid.
The real
Plus.
estate, the real estate sales?
With the real estate sales, the
Yeah.
$10 million from the TIF,
Our plan.
and whatever we get from the state. When you stack that together,
Well, the money from appropriation from the state is not included in the plan. That would be bonus money. That would relieve us in future years from having to come up with money elsewhere. But our financing plan is in the ordinance that we
Correct.
passed, and it
Yeah.
covers it throughout the 30.
So now the 10 million is not debt service, that is cost.
Yeah, correct.
That is cost, okay. We didn't borrow 62. We
That's right.
borrowed 40.
Yeah, we've already,
But that's on the tip, yeah.
And that'll play out over the
Right.
next
Right.
several. I'm just trying to project.
Right.
Good
Good, good energy.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. That's good.
Flawed logic.
Okay, any other questions here?
One question.
Yes, sir.
To what do you attribute the jump in 25 and 26? And okay,
I was gonna ask that.
The sawmill,
all right, and so that's predictable going forward, not just a 1 or 2 year thing.
I think there's still plenty of development there.
Yeah, but I don't know how quickly that will occur. Yeah, that's from the projects that have quickly been approved. The next project, we don't know how quickly.
So that might be a decline.
Do we know if the Nexton folks are coming back to ask?
they are. Yes.
Drop off the road, the area out there, when the schedules are going along with the permits.
In terms of the commercial and light industrial area out there, we have heard from them about a potential first project. But have not seen anything
It's about a year or so out. Yeah, I guess.
potentially. Now, do they actually pay impact fees? Probably won't. Yeah, because I mean, they
Yeah,
haven't,
they-
they haven't even started
That's
the
already.
initial, like, they haven't submitted to TRC. yet.
Okay.
So I mean, and the TRC, the DRB, you know, go through permitting, when purchase your permits, that's when you pay.
There's a fair bit of stuff in downtown Nexton that's coming out of the ground, so we know that will hopefully hit this upcoming fiscal year. And that will be impact fees.
Do we know what year, if everything goes with Enter4, what year that would hit our impact fees?
So they've got to buy the property first.
Yeah, wow.
4 years from now at best.
But it's good for the, for-
Right, yeah. Project
But-
for all these things were good. Project to.
Impact fees could stop today.
Yeah, they could.
Oh, we were doing an impact fee study.
Yes.
It'll come to you and then.
Is that an increase in these areas?
No.
No, the drafts we've seen that charitably
The
keep.
total
neutral.
impact fee will increase likely for like single family. And then we're changing the categories for commercial, so it's hard to tell how it. But overall, no, not really.
Not significantly.
There's no bullet in here.
And
we can only do that by law by what that study shows.
Totally. Yeah. The maximum you can charge is what that study shows is the maximum.
Yeah. Before we leave this slide, I just want you to remember one number. On the Parks and Rec, there's a highlighted number of 815,000 that's in orange. Remember that because we're gonna need to refer back to that when we're talking about capital. Another fund that we haven't really, spent any time on over the last several months is the sanitation fund. We have some work to do on looking at this to see if we need to come back to you all with a recommendation for a fee change. I think the biggest story in this is that, our margin in this fund is eroding too, mainly because of the increases that Carolina Waste, has passed along, and some of it was bid, some of it was fuel, some of it was other things. So, down the bottom, when we look at the fee to the citizen, this is a monthly fee that I'm comparing, and then Carolina Waste fee. And that doesn't even include the recycling that we pay monthly. You can see our fees are the same and our Carolina Waste fee is going up. So at some point, we need to kind of right the ship on that. We had used this fund, appropriately to purchase, equipment for streets. And we're to the point, we're gonna purchase the, tractors, and the deck equipment that he needs out of this fund. We probably could push the debris trucks. I have those in general fund, as part of the lease purchase. We probably could push that. There's roughly, I think there's about $500,000 in fund balance in this fund. So we're thin.
You
We're
said,
thin,
how much about fund balance in this fund?
about 500,000. So, I know 100,000 for the tractors that we're proposing this year. I want to come out of this fund. We could do the debt service on the debris trucks as well. We could do some things like that. But
You mean that's what would be left out of fund balance? We will,
yes,
500,000.
No, we
Before.
have 500,000 in fund balance current.
Okay.
She would take some of the expenses out of that fund balance, thereby reducing that 500 to whatever.
yeah.
So, okay, then I'm not following. Can you tell me then that line item, 3,122,848, I know it's a combination, but what is that? That's expenses, right? But then
Yeah,
you've got the revenue.
that's just what I'm proposing for this coming year. That's a small margin.
So that is revenue.
The 76,000, yes, that's net revenue. For 2027, that's an estimate.
Net revenue, okay.
So go up there to that top, Tiffany, the third line down, 3.199 million.
Yeah,
That's how much she's expecting in revenue from the billings to each customer. And then the expenses are the 2,990, the 132, which adds up to the 3,122. Then subtract that from the 3,199 and you net $76,000. That's what you got left over.
thank you. Sorry about that. Slow morning.
So we signed a 5-year extension on the contract, limiting their increase to a CPI annually. So that was a really good move for the town. So that gives us some rate protection on what we're paying out for the next 5 years.
The Charleston County Environmental, is that what you were saying is the recycling?
Yes,
Okay,
and that's probably a low number when Bonnie and I were looking at the totals again yesterday. And it seems like the average is just climbing.
so that 1,304 for Carolina Waste, we don't have added to that annual payment that we pay for recycling. Even though the fee to the citizen is a little bit more, so I mean, it's in there, but I see what you're saying. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
talking out loud.
But no, that's fine. So,
Can
it's just-
we? Does a fee, is that a part of our budget discussion every year, just like the fees for the sports that come through, in our budget ordinance? This is a fee that can come up.
Yeah.
In those fees, do they have to be set each year, or can we do what is in the contract and have it indexed by CPI each year?
You gotta vote on that.
That makes sense.
You gotta vote on that each year
Okay, either way.
It's a tax increase on the bill, so you
But-
have to.
by way of the
Seems
budget.
like that makes sense, so that way we keep ahead of the curve.
As a policy matter, you can do that. Yeah, but you still gotta,
Still gotta
vote
vote
on it as a
a
part
flat
of
budget
the
amendment.
budget ordinance.
And in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna try to dig into this a little bit more, and maybe we should come to you at finance committee in May, with a recommendation or something. But again, there are lots of components, so.
For that fee.
We
For the
did do a jump within the past few years and one stormwater or sanitation. I remember the
Both.
tech,
So,
it was,
but it was like 5 years, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It went from like 148 to 176 in 2022.
okay.
2.7 CPI, we're gonna run out of. So
Right.
we bumped it up to 180, about 2% increase. That would cover us for several years.
For a little bit.
Well, and that 2.7 is just for this upcoming fiscal year. CPI could be 3.5 next year. You just don't know.
So anyway, information, and we haven't really covered this yet, so. I wanted to-
It'd be interesting to know how we compare with other municipal governments who do trash collection, because I feel like
Yeah.
we were low for what people in the unincorporated area can get. They're
Oh,
trying-
yeah.
We're significantly lower. We want to add value to our citizens for sure, but
And every time I say that, I think Carolina Waste is doing a better job from my perspective than what I see,
I just,
then
I've had.
we have a bad week.
And this is also one of the arguments for annexation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Savings on your insurance, savings on your sanitation.
right,
So,
yeah, that's a good balance.
that's everything. We get that and find like comparison.
I thought,
You want to stop? See if anybody.
Yeah.
You might need a comfort break. Keep
Okay.
going, okay.
Alright. Alright, stormwater. Ugh, we started, digging into stormwater, for multiple reasons. We've got the MS4 challenges, we've got a lot of expenses associated with that. As we're talking about the general fund and all the good work that Bonnie's department does. You know, I feel like we have a ton of expenses that aren't being captured here. And our fee structure hasn't really covered that.
We have expenses that are being charged to the general fund that should be charged to the stormwater.
In my opinion,
And I agree with that.
Based on what I've seen. So. Our fee. So it looks like in 2021, we were charging $4 to the residents per month. And we changed that to $8 per month to the residents. For our commercial properties, we said, all right, your corporations, you're gonna pay $8 too, but we're gonna double the square footage basis. So it's kind of like, instead of paying us 2 10s, I want you to pay us $8.20. You know, you got 2 $10 bills or you got a $20 bill. That's what their rate was unchanged. And it has been unchanged
on the commercial.
on the commercial.
So, and
I
what
don't
year did
know.
we change? To
2021.
2021.
to $8?
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if y'all remember that. I really meant to go watch the meeting from that.
Are we still billing commercial on an ERU basis?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not calculated on that fee factor, it's impervious surface.
Actual impervious surface.
Actual,
You
yeah.
get that information from GIS? Where do you get the impervious surface?
Yeah, Tom, get that information.
Okay.
There's 4 different charges in stormwater. The $8 per residence, single family residence, that's one
Per month.
per month. There's, the second is for multifamily dwellings, apartments, which is on a per unit basis, just like a single family residence. But it's discounted by 25%.
What?
$6.
So
So yeah,
$6 per unit.
$6 instead of $8 per. Then there's the commercial, which is the impervious surface divided by 16,000 and some odd square feet, which gives you your rate factor.
5,000.
Yeah, and then you multiply that times the $8.
So back up, what are we dividing the commercial impervious by?
16,000.
That was the example. It's like 5,900.
Yeah,
It was
5,900 square feet.
basically
the average single family.
Correct.
Sir. Yes, yeah, 59, it's 59.
So we had, so basically it was $4 per like 2,500. ERUs or whatever that is. And now it's $8 per like 5,000 ERUs. So the rate did not change. The rate means the amount that they're paying did change. The formula changed, but it basically just doubled everything. So it just moved it to a different level.
So in 2021, when we changed it for residential, we essentially leveled it same for commercial.
But yeah, but our residences, it was double on our city.
Well, that shouldn't be
Because
right.
initially, we looked at this and we wanted to come to y'all with an increase. But we looked at, I mean, I think that the stormwater fee is certainly an equitable fee as long as because it covers nonprofits, it covers churches, it covers everything. But then we started digging in and realizing that I don't really know that the commercial was intentional. Somehow I want to think that maybe it was misinterpreted. But I don't know the answer to that. Along with some of our MS4 consulting engagements, we really would like to get a rate study, include all of our costs that are related to stormwater, and try to get something to you by Finance Committee in May so we can properly evaluate this.
We've asked WSP to take a look at our rate structure, tell us what they think of it, not in terms of the dollar values or just the way it's set up and how typical it is and comparative it is to peers around the region. And then bring back to us any thoughts and ideas so that we can make a better recommendation to you for potentially changing the stormwater fees to help cover some of these general fund expenses that should be attributed to the stormwater fund, which is going to. So without even doing that, as you'll see in front of you, we're projecting a deficit in the stormwater fund. Next year.
Yeah,
And we have about $1 million in fund balance, which in my opinion, for something like stormwater is not much. That can be eaten up in a minute.
So I think an easy way to fix it is a modest increase on residential. I think your divider for commercial is probably too high. Since if you took a 1/4 acre lot at 40% impervious, it's only about 4,400 square feet.
yeah, I'm not interested in changing residential, but I would be for commercial for sure.
We're gonna make some study with you, it's very helpful.
Well, I don't call it a study, call it a review, a very quick review. And just expect that we are going to, in order to get to that $400,000 relief on the general fund, we're gonna come to you with decision points on the stormwater fee.
This something, in this sheet right here, the 160 where we're shortfall is now, does that include the 400 coming?
No,
No, so we're actually 560.
yeah.
Yes.
But we have a million fund balance, but this under expenditures is negative is because in the expenses, we've moved things there that were previously under.
The only thing different in this expense total is the 150 for MS4.
Okay.
And that's just a swag,
That-
because we are under the gun from the Department of Environmental Sciences, Services to do some significant work on our stormwater system in order to maintain our MS4 permit. And we don't know how much that's gonna cost. The 150 is just for the consultant services. Just to have the consultant come in and that's,
And that's necessary? We have to do
yes,
that?
yes.
If we lose our MS4 status, that means the county reviews all our MS4 permits. And I can tell you that wait time on county review is a heck of a lot longer than it is on our.
So,
And they're gonna charge us.
Correct. And we're, yeah.
so when they do that MS4, that study, or whatever, that expense of 150, they're gonna come back and give us.
What we are gonna have them do is take that DES report and our response back to it, the sightings, I don't wanna call them sightings, but the deficiencies that DES has noted for us. They are gonna work with us to figure out how to address those deficiencies, and we are under the gun to make responses and corrections in some cases by October of this year. Now,
deadlines are June.
and some of those are the end of June, but hopefully some of those June deadlines are ones that we can address administratively rather than actually have to put boots on the ground and shovels.
So that's possible.
It's possible, but this is independent of any physical work that we may have to do to the stormwater system, because we just don't know what we might or might not have. So this is the 160 is a deficit that we already know about. And then you add in the 400,000 that we want to transfer over to the general fund. Now you're looking at $560,000 deficit. Not counting any physical work that we'll have to do or additional expenses that we need to do to maintain our MS4 permit. And this is us falling behind on our keeping up with our MS4 permit and the things that we're have to do. That's something that we're addressing internally, and is an accumulation of a number of years of not necessarily neglect on the part of frontline staff, but certainly somebody should have been paying attention.
Well, I don't think we're falling behind. I think standards are changing.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what, it's all these unfunded mandates.
And Tom is still in the middle of, trying to get everything for the county as far as what the fees actually look like. I don't anticipate it changing drastically, but
All right,
that will be fluid.
I think we need a bathroom break.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take 5. Refuel. We tried. All right. We are back after 5-ish minutes of a break. And we'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Miss Rhonda.
Okay, we're going to move on to, capital at this point before we revisit the general fund budget. I could probably recite this, spreadsheet. Y'all could probably recite this spreadsheet. We've looked at it a number of times over the last 4 months.
It's printed out big and the whole list.
So yes, Beth has certainly taken care of us.
As I can.
Not much has changed on this. I did, delete the 250,000 that we had for pavers for town hall for this next year. We just deleted that for this year and it'll push that out. Hope GW is not upset with me about that, because I know that's been a concern in some respect. The other thing I did, I added the debris trucks for streets and, there's tractors, not trackers, for streets as well. That is about 3/4 of the way down under Public Works, says purchase sanitation, that's 104,000. That is what we're gonna purchase out of the sanitation fund, to fund that particular item. All the items in green are what I am proposing to do a lease purchase for and pay for over 4 years. To include the police cars, and the other trucks for Parks and Rec and some of those other areas. See what else I've changed. I reallocated, some of the Parks and Rec items, between hospitality and general fund, and some in a 75-25 or 2/3 and a third, to some of those items. Obviously, the tennis court rebuild will change. What else is different? I did not include anything at this point for trailhead cameras. We talked about that and maybe felt like there was some more research or, just identifying some other funding sources. Maybe there's some grant opportunities, and maybe there's just some more that need to go into that before I put that in our budget, but.
I think we were gonna talk to the county about that. Did we do that? Do you know?
It's hometown telecom is interested in trying to partner with us on that. so.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So at this point, I excluded it from this year's capital budget. Any questions? Oh, one thing I want to make a point of, our impact fees. There are 2 items in Parks and Rec, the skate park and the Azalea Park venue. I think both those are design fees of $600,000 each. Is that correct, Amy? Design fees for skate park?
Yes, there was, we had allocated some money for design for the skate park, and then the, Azalea Park, that 600,000 was just kind of a placeholder, but
Okay.
it did include design fees, but design fees are near that.
Okay, do any of these numbers include construction for skate park?
Not for the skate park.
Okay. I
That's-
just wanted
Yeah,
That's when you say the placeholder for the skate park.
Yeah.
Of 600,000, you're saying that does not include construction?
Oh,
I thought,
no, that 600,000 does.
yes.
Yeah, if,
Yeah.
if approved, but what has been
Yeah.
previous, sorry, I may have misunderstood, what was previously approved? the
We
fund-
previously approved the
Design
design
fees,
fees last year.
Yeah,
and
Okay.
now this is the construction.
sorry.
And I thought.
Okay.
That's wrong.
I was like, that was not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just a quick question, ma'am. I know under capital requests you have what you have here. I know last month you included a slide for operational capital requests. I didn't see that in the package. Is that
Those were already, I added those to your budget.
perfect? Thank you, Beth.
So the reason I bring those 2 items up is I ask you to remember a $800,000 total from what was available in Parks and Rec, that's $800,000. So obviously that will fund the skate park. We do not have enough to fund anything for the Azalea Park venue. And I know we're early in that whole process and we've just been talking about it, but I just kind of wanted to make that point. Obviously, I have $1.2 million that we would like to fund out of impact fees, but we don't have the money to fund both of those items. So
If the skate park can be accomplished for this, that is a huge event
Yeah,
to get that advance.
Right.
That's been discussed now for how long?
yeah.
4 or 5 years.
And we have the property from the school district, at least, would that go through and finalized?
Yes, sir, we have the property.
So I would assume that was the priority, but,
The 600 for the Azalea Park, not all of that's design fees, right? I mean, some of that is.
Well,
There's 600 in the current fiscal year budget of $600,000 for the Cuthbert Center.
Yeah.
Which is what is covering design fees in this current budget.
Okay.
So what I would suggest is anything that we don't spend in this current fiscal year, we haven't spent $600,000 on it. That 600,
We've only spent 10,000 on the design thus far,
right?
and that got us to that initial conceptual.
So theoretically, the 600 that's here is just being carried over from this current fiscal year.
Okay.
The building that they showed us, every bit of the $2 million.
Yeah, it ain't gonna be $600,000.
yeah, so. It's on our radar, but it's very good. So I think priority would be to fund the skate park out of impact fee. Any other comments on? We'll move to the capital fund to show how the math works out with the dollars, but, well, okay. So now this is looking at the capital fund. This I am trying to project out a little bit because, we're signing a lease for 4 years and it affects 4 years. The first thing that last year we transferred $2.5 million or this year saved, to the capital fund. I'm happy that we actually got this fund started and that we have kind of a spot for all of this. This year for FY 27, I'm proposing that we transfer 2 million. We've been really lucky that we've had some surpluses and this has really not affected our fund balance to say that we're gonna change this money. The more or the less conservative my estimates are, the more this number shrinks and this will be hitting our fund balance. So we can't, I say that to say, we can't continually hit our fund balance for $2 million every single year if we don't generate any surpluses. So this is gonna have to be part of the formula of our funding every year to cover this 2 million.
Assuming you want to keep going with your capital fund.
Does that
And we
make,
would strongly recommend that you use it.
does that make sense? Understandable? Okay. I don't want, I mean, this really haven't felt the pain of this 2 million yet.
So can I ask that?
So, well, hang on, if you will, real quick. So for instance, in fiscal year 29, Rhonda is showing, is that a deficit?
Yeah.
Excess, yeah, a deficit of $666,000. That's assuming
That's
that,
if we maintain.
that's if you maintain $2 million.
And we don't increase our revenue sources.
Correct.
Don't grow.
If everything stays static the way it is now,
Right.
that's what you're looking at. You're gonna have to cover that to keep going. So the 2 million plus another 700,000. So we just call it 3.7 million.
Now, some of that is the timing of when the engines that we are gonna order this year actually come in. And also, we certainly could do a lease purchase with those engines to kind of stretch that out a little bit. But just, plan.
We don't want to increase that 2 million as we move forward.
But if you increase the 2 million and everything stays the same as it is today, that means you gotta get stuff that's increased revenue.
Yeah, that means you can't do it. So can I ask on the streets, the 224,606, that's what you moved there for capital expenditures. But that's part of it, this public works number here.
The 224 is what I'm projecting this year we will have spent. That's FY 26.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or, yeah,
That hasn't been spent yet, but will be.
well, some of it may have, I don't know
Okay.
exactly. And I don't know if you heard our discussion earlier, but, Mr. Campbell has decided that he doesn't need the asphalt truck and that, he can repair what we have now and it'll last us a couple years. Thanks for that. We have very conservative department head.
Fantastic job.
Any other questions about this? Obviously, any sale of real estate will go in this fund, but it will be conserved for the use of the public safety building. if for some reason we have other, we don't need it to fund the entire 100% of the cost, then we can certainly then offset bridge at that point and repurpose it for something else. Any questions here?
Well
Okay.
done.
All right, those are.
A lot of ground.
It's a lot of stuff. So now, we're gonna go back to the beginning. This is where we started. This is the same numbers from the slide in the very beginning. It's just condensed, doesn't have all the department totals on it, so you can kind of see everything. So,
I have one more question, I'm sorry, on this document here.
okay,
Where you've got underground utilities a question mark, that's because you're not thinking of putting any franchise fee money anywhere.
Nothing beyond what we have
Doing.
done and are planning to do in
Doing.
future projects, correct?
Which is substantial.
Which is a lot.
that's correct.
The Main Street.
Main Street resiliency, which is a huge job.
So, under the general fund draft budget summary, we have a surplus of 133, and we have choices. We have pay implementation for public safety. And I think an acknowledgement of what, if any, you want to do over the COLA for any additional employees in the town. And kind of a nod that you're okay with the increases that I have identified. I don't have those on there. The $1,000,001 of additional revenues, transferring the stormwater overhead to the stormwater fund. I think results in roughly $1,000,001. And so if we make those changes, we'll have roughly $1,000,002 to implement some of these projects. I would like to put that down just a tad, but yeah,
The
$1,000,001.
victims advocate, isn't that covered by a grant?
Yeah, ma'am.
You know, we have a small amount of court fees that cover a portion of that, but we have 2 people in that fund, and that's state law requirement.
What about 30,000 a year
It's
for
what-
both of them?
Oh. For the grant or what?
We haven't had a grant in over 25 years.
Yeah, so that is, that transfers increased a little bit for this year. So those are decisions, and I wanted to do your calculation. I don't think 50/50, I'm thinking it'll be around 750-ish is what I'm thinking.
They're gonna, I thought it was probably like $1,000,000.
But I'll try to get that. I can't do that right a second, but,
685 plus half of 685.
When the grant runs out, well, have we asked Judge Jameson, or do we know when the grant runs out, will we need both prosecutors?
The DUI prosecutor is the only grant funded position that we have.
Right.
That renews annually.
We're renewing it.
Yeah.
The grant does?
That's almost a guarantee.
So if you go back to that first slide or two, where you saw the increases in the revenues that Ron projected, just the increases in the revenues that we're stretching the envelope on, pushing the envelope on, totals about $755,000. So that would cover this fiscal year, this upcoming fiscal year, the pay increase at the 50/50.
Close enough.
And then keep in mind that we are going to come back to you at first reading or at finance committee meeting before first reading with stormwater fee changes in order to affect that transfer out of the general fund and into the stormwater. Because without it, instead of 755, you're looking at even a lot more.
From what I hear, it sounds like it's not correct.
The
Not- Not what
755,
it should be anyway.
okay.
We we've done the research to try and figure out how and what the thinking was, but documentation in terms of minutes, many minutes, I don't think there wasn't a whole lot of discussion around that. So we can't find any documentation to tell us what the thinking was about the interpretation of the application of the fees on the commercial side of what they are. But that's irrelevant at this point. It's up to y'all to make that decision.
Council members?
I think
Any approach?
So what,
for the pay increase in public safety, I think. So that we're not having to figure out how to pay for this in 2028 and to make it more meaningful. Impactful to our people, I would propose that we do it in 1 year. I would prefer 50-50. I saw Rhonda shake her head like that might be possible.
yeah, it might be $1,000,001. I,
Is that the 50-50? That would end up being the 1.6 or
Yeah, that'd be about 1.1 million. Yeah.
to do 50-50,
That's what the branch, yes.
so if we would,
which is exactly pretty much what is the additional. Yeah.
And we have to.
You made that in the form of a motion, Council?
I can make it follow.
All right,
Like to make a motion out, we implement public safety pay increases 50% July 1 and 50% January 1.
Second.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Other discussion?
I guess I'd just like to say that we remember that we are creating, I think, 6 personnel short this year. So.
That we got
Just
some,
kicking that can.
we've got some new personnel in here, right?
They gave them up.
Because this is most important.
So when they can't make a call, it's our fault.
Well, I mean, like our personal budgets, we only have so much money to play with.
Down the road, there's gonna be some more decisions getting made, though, we just sit down and what they could. Talking about these 2 departments, which 3 departments. I'm gonna pick up, you have to look at the rest of our staff as well, and I'd like to see us take a look at that in January.
We're
If
doing that.
we're doing 3%.
No, we're doing not minimum. Oh, for that, yeah, everything else.
So that's in January, this revisit, I'd like to see revisit this, when we got a good idea of what projections are looking like for the following year. If we're gonna do this now, which I'm in support of, but I'd like to. Support public safety 100%, I'm support this motion 100%. You know, you gotta pick up our other personnel as well, so.
I'm encouraged by the lower level staff being elevated to a $19 minimum. That's encouraging. And everybody else is getting at least 3% starting July 1. What I would just say as we go forward implementing this, we need to pay attention to how this year goes with the economy very closely. Because next year, to your point, Councilman, if things don't grow, we may be in a no increase position for the budget. So you know, if you want to pay your folks more, attrition is the only way to do that, which is not necessarily attractive. So we're pushing ourselves extraordinarily hard. But these numbers may not look that much differently next year as we sit down at the same time. So I'm all for and in support of it. I just want us to understand what we may be facing next year and be realistic about it. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And again, just so anybody who's listening, this is not finalized. This will be incorporated into the budget ordinance that will have a public hearing and 2 readings at council meetings. Correct. So just so everybody's on the same page.
Just. Let me just ask to be sure that the retiree health insurance is also included in this budget.
have, 50,000, you know, that wasn't the original estimate. We kind of feel like, if we have employees to take advantage of it, the first year will be the year that we kind of maybe get an influx. So I kind of doubled that. I would like to have a little bit more there, but.
Yes, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Last thing, as with any budget, with your own personal budget, there's always risk. and things that we don't know the outcome of. Which is why I like to be a little more conservative than this budget probably present. But anyway, the one unknown, really is health insurance. We have our own challenges, but I've been hearing from other people outside and just in private industry, 30 and 40% increases in premium. So, whether or not we stay with our current, plan or we go with, something different, I am very nervous about what those numbers would bring. There's just, I'm nervous about it. There's nothing I can do about it. We just have to wait and see.
But keep in mind that one of the motivations for making the change that we did was to try and limit the increases to under double digits. And based on what Woodard told us, and we understood at the time that we made that change, he felt confident that we would stay under double digit rate increase. But
There are a lot of different things, a lot of different choices. One of the things that we had talked about before, which I still think long-term would be a great thing, is if we could get to be self-insured with appropriate captive and limits to limit our long-term, liability. We could get rebates from, the drugs that that are so prevalent among, our whole society. I think that's driving a lot of our insurance costs. Those rebates go back to the companies right now. If we were to come, self-insured, that would certainly be a very advantageous thing, but that is very complicated. It's certainly not something we can solve, but it's just an option to throw out there. I'll let you talk about the rest of them.
well, yeah, I mean, I love the doom and gloom, but you have to know it and you have to hear it repeatedly. We still have we have the potential for the Blythe construction claim on the Maple Street project hanging out there. We have a meeting scheduled with them the first week of May to start talking about how to address that going forward. Reached out to Dorchester County on several occasions. Bonnie has been in touch with Sunshine Trackus to keep that on Sunshine's radar that, hey, if there are surplus funds from the project, then we would want to avail ourselves of those to potentially mitigate a claim that Blythe might bring. The Dominion claim, again, related to the Maple Street project, that's $1.3 million. I'm sorry, the Blythe claim, they started at 6 million and they sharpened their pencil and got it down to 4.8 is what they say we owe them. Don't know if that's the number we'll end up at or if any number. Add on top of that, Dominion's desire to get reimbursed for their $1.3 million for undergrounding their utilities on the Maple Street project. Add another 100,000 on top of that for street lighting that was not incorporated into the original project. We laid the conduit for it. Included that in the project, but we didn't actually include the installation and purchase and installation of the streetlights themselves. So that's another 100,000 or so. And then the Gadsden Dam. Ryan, do you have any update on where we are with that right now?
I met with the guys from the engineering firm, last week. And so they're getting with the surveyor to get the information they need from him, and they'll be able to put something together to present.
Compared to these other larger unknowns, that's probably small potatoes, but still it's an expense that we know the town will likely have to take on. So are there others? Did I put other?
I did.
You did. What's some of the others?
I just wanted an agenda item, so if there was something else.
Oh, there are others?
That we could cover
You
it.
want to add to this list?
Scott, those two claims, the Blythe and Dominion, are they bringing those as lawsuit claims?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah.
When I call them claims, they're
Right.
claims on money.
Right.
That they say we owe them. Certainly. The Dominion claim, yes, that should have been incorporated. They went forward with their work on the project without a signed agreement between the town and themselves. So we could make a counterclaim that, hey, that's on you. Obviously, we can't do that. Blythe, if we can't negotiate a number to pay them, then that will go to litigation. My preference would be to try and figure out if we can settle with them for some amount, some much lower amount than the 4.8. Because under the contract that they signed with the town, they are not due, they cannot make a claim for losses due to utility delays. That's standard language in those kinds of contracts, and they know that. And that's what HDR and MBI all say. They don't know because those were utility delays. Well, what Life has told me is that that's not the claim they're gonna make, that they lost that money because of utility delays. They're gonna claim that we breached our contract with them because their thinking is that if they had known how long the project was going to take, then they would have bid it differently. And so since they didn't have that knowledge and they signed a bad contract with us under false pretenses, then that's their claim. Now, I don't know if that'll hold up or not, but when you start thinking about litigation costs, what's it? 6, 7.
How many bidders are on that project?
Sorry?
How many bidders?
Oh, I don't know.
On the what?
On the,
I
on the Main
think
Street
the
project.
first time it was bid, we did not have any, and so we rebid it, and then we got 2.
So had they been $5 million more in our bid, would they have gotten the contract?
I do not know. I know.
Question.
No.
Anyway.
Is there a possibility, do we know yet, of being able to do the Gadsden Dam in-house once we get the results from all of that?
Yeah, that's our intentions, are to perform the repairs in-house.
Drew, how does that repair look that Jenny Smith was out there putting in the bottom of the dam? Is that gonna work or not, you think?
I mean, I don't think there's any reason to take down what he has unless we remove the entire structure. So if we do go in and make a repair to the existing structure, then we'll probably leave what he did there and just incorporate that into the repair.
Has anybody noticed the rise in the water level of the lake, of the pond?
No, because it's still going around the wall that he built over there. So the water it created a new path. And it's bypassing right there.
And I'm sure staff already does this, but if not, maybe getting quotes for things like our commercial auto expenses, workers' comp, or general liability, those are always big expenses for even my company. So I know for the town, it has to be huge, and shopping those rates sometimes I've found has saved a lot of money.
What my experience tells me is that, yes, we could probably find cheaper property and liability insurance and workers' comp insurance in the first year or two or the first run of the contract, but then they'll end up raising the rates on you on the back end of that contract so that you're on a merry-go-round with those. And the services that Smith and Smurf provide to the town with regard to training and risk management is not something we'll get from a commercial carrier. So I would not be interested in the town looking at going through the motions to save a few dollars on the front end and just to find us right back in the same position, and without the support that we get from the member-owned Smurf and Smith programs.
It's like a cooperative, so we
Yeah.
get rebates back and some other things, so I think that. A good thing, and we already look at, combining services, looking at, we've looked at janitorial, we're constantly looking at things that we can. Combine across departments to be efficient and not operate independently in silos. We've been really trying to break the walls down between departments and collaborate. Good job.
That's all we have to present to you. Is there anything that related to the budget or any of the other items on the agenda we would like to hear more of from us?
That's
I guess that's a stellar job. I did not think you could get there without raising taxes. Thank you very
I
much.
knew you could. I was feeling it.
This year,
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got.
This year.
We can have a quicker budget process than next year. No.
Before the last motion, I do to Councilman Holter's point, I want to thank everybody
Yeah.
for the work y'all put in. I mean, I know you do it all year long, but we get to see it firsthand, January, February, March, and now April this year. And we're pushing ourselves extremely hard. But I think this budget is meaningfully beneficial, not only to our staff, but also to the town as a whole. And I'm really appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Mayor, if I may ask, you know, if we have asked you to meet too much this budget season, please tell us that.
There's not too much.
I
Not
think
too
you've
much.
done a phenomenal job.
We really needed
No,
all of this.
I think about this being a
And I will tell
part-time,
you,
part-time job I've ever had, but it's necessary.
Yeah, and I think we're to the point, we're scraping the crust off the pan, and that takes a little while.
and I think the way, like, it's been since I've been here, you know, Scott, the way you and Rhonda handle the budget, it's much easier to understand for me coming in new at the, like, first one, so I appreciate it so much.
Well, it's a lot of information and more than a half a day is really is, I think it leaves it fun.
Agreed.
Thank you.
On that,
We're done. How do we adjourn?
I make second. Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.